So, the bullwhip as a weapon. Let's get into it. So this is kind of an impromptu weapon nerding out video that I'm known to do from time to time. And obviously the subject is going to be the bullwhip. So we're going to talk about the whip as a potential weapon instead of just a tool to get good at cracking dynamically and doing complicated cracking patterns, which, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to undermine it, that is awesome, and people who get good at the sport of whip cracking are just some of the most amazing people to ever use these tools, hands down. But it's similar to like flow rope dart versus martial rope dart, right? The manipulations are similar, but the intent is what's different, you know? And basically, footwork and the intent of a target versus just kind of cracking in different places in different directions and not really paying any mind to having a specific target, more on the mindset level, not necessarily always that you have to be hitting something per se, but just the mindset of always applying the technique versus, you know, just focusing more on complicated maneuvers of the tool itself. So as a martial arts tool, a martial arts weapon, conceptually it's got a lot going for it. This is not necessarily to put it in the same category as a practical self-defense tool. I've seen some people make cases for whips as self-defense weapons. I don't know about that. I think that's an entirely different discussion. But as far as the martial arts weapon aspect of it, its versatility in different modes, different ways that it can crack, the different ways that you can use the handle of the weapon, the body of the weapon to attack, as well as locking, grappling. It's got a lot going for it that, as I'm out here practicing, I'm kind of newly appreciating all over again. So needless to say, I specialize in the meteor hammer, so it familiarizes me with a reversed whip. So I can be cracking the whip and lashing, whatever, grab the thong at any time, and indeed I do have something resembling a meteor hammer that I can do straight shots with, or of course I can use as a flail. Now it's not quite a meteor hammer, doesn't feel quite like it, but it is a lot of weight at the end of a flexible cord that would be really bad to get hit by, whether that was on the round strike or whether that was on the straight cast or shot, right? You do definitely have something that resembles it. It's not quite, well, this would be bad to get hit by, even if you're just holding it in the hand, which is a very important martial mode of the whip. This is, as I believe, a big piece of metal pipe in there. So that at full committed swinging speed or flail speed, you know, either way, whether you've got some flexible section between your hand and the handle, or you're just holding the handle on itself, and just that would be enough for some pretty serious damage, as well as the ability anytime to go back to your regular whipping mode. So essentially you have two, as a meteor hammer guy, I have two long range modes. Its regular whipping mode, and of course I have its flailing mode. And because the whip is already in my dominant hand, anytime I grab the thong with my non-dominant hand, it gives me the anchor and lead hand situation, which is how I'm used to using a meteor hammer, obviously. And at any time, go right back to using it like a full whip. Now, this is shot loaded, so it's got some weight to it. This is very unpleasant, even at that intensity. Very unpleasant to get hit by. So if you're repeatedly getting lashed with it, you know, I think a good incentive would be maybe to back off, and then that's when you're back at full regular whipping mode, or indeed full-on flail mode. So you have a surprising amount of versatility academically and like martial arts related versatility, more so than just self-defense. Once again, I think that's a different category. But the whip is a very interesting conceptual weapon that, just like many other bladed and impact weapons, can follow your universal angles of attack fairly nicely. And once you find, there's different schools too of how to use the whip in martial arts. The Tibetan Wave system is, as I understand it, very similar to what we might normally call a volley, but happening on a horizontal plane, just to get kind of more used to the horizontal action of the whip, as well as these kind of towel snapping kind of cracks that are very short range and can come out of nowhere and can be quite surprising, unpleasant. So yeah, it's sort of the concept of understanding the whip's energy from a horizontal volley. As I understand it, I think there's more to it than that, but the whip is transferring energy in all these interesting ways. Of course, it cracks by creating a loop, and that loop accelerates as it goes down to the end, and then by the time it gets to the end, it's breaking the sound barrier. So the whip is as well as an interesting academic martial arts weapon, it also teaches us a lot about certain body mechanics of body relaxation, a whip-like strike versus a solid baseball bat kind of strike, I guess. So the whip is effective, not because, like a solid weapon, it follows through, but because it's very good at hitting the surface as hard and fast as possible and creating a completely different kind of strike, as well as key concepts of relaxation. Of course, the whip is relaxed, and it efficiently, because it's relaxed, sends energy out effectively. If there were a rigid section somewhere in the whip, then most of the energy would die there, and it would not crack or work properly. So it's also an analogy for what we want our body to be like for certain kinds of martial arts training principles, as well as in itself a very versatile, combative, academic martial arts weapon that I'm newly appreciating all over again. So I'm going to keep doing it, keep working on my whip cracking, and try to keep it, as my rope dart work and meteor hammer work, more martial, but, you know, definitely cracking different directions and learning all the different combinations too. But I've just come to, over time, appreciate a localized target mindset and, of course, footwork that makes sense. We don't want to just kind of be just like with the other stuff I do. We don't want to be just kind of everywhere with our footwork. We want to be, you know, tactfully advancing, retreating, changing positions, using all of our stances like we would normally, whatever the case may be. My footwork has a Chinese martial arts style kind of base, so that's naturally what I default to. So yeah, really being martial-minded about the whip and newly appreciating all the different modes that it has. From, of course, whip to short club and entangling and snaring, strangulation, grappling, locking, throwing techniques, flail, and indeed, meteor hammer. Bam, right? And then anytime go right back to your regular mode. So very cool. So just kind of a impromptu weapon nerd out video about the bullwhip. So stay tuned for more whippy type content, as well as regularly scheduled rope dart, meteor hammer stuff, and so much more. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ha! All right, bye-bye.